life. If you wanna get the info that'll help you throughout your life, yeah.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Boomer Beat. I am your host, Bev Mahone, and today we are talking about happily ever after. Now, when you say I do, that's what you think, but it doesn't always end up that way. But sometimes it does. And today, my guest and her husband have been married for 40 years. Yes, you heard me right. 40 years, which means they probably got married as kids and they are still enjoying each other. So, Robin, thank you so much for joining me on the Boomer Beat today. And tell me, I'm just curious, how did you two meet? I mean, because it's 40 years, it's a long time. So that means you really were young. How did you meet?
Well, we've known each other for 44 years, and we've been together as a couple for 42 years. And we're friends before that. We met at college. I mean, that's sort of like, I didn't go to college thinking I needed to find a husband. It wasn't that. We both have careers in science, but we met at UNC. And the very first time we met, my roommate had gone to get her books for the semester, and he met her at the library, and she had too many books, so he offered as a gentleman to carry her books back to the dorm. And he walked into the dorm room, and he saw me. And I think his attention just went directly to me after that. And we became friends first because I was already dating someone and he was dating someone, but we became friends. Especially being both in science, and the weekends, everybody went to party, and here we were studying and going to labs and things. So we kind of have the same schedule. So we just got to know each other just as friends for a couple of years.
Okay, and so then it started to progress after that.
It progressed after that.
At what point in the relationship did you say, oh, yeah, he's the one? Oh, yeah, I want to marry that man?
Well, I was just saying 2 years and we finally got together as a couple, but there was times before that I knew he was the one. Like we were friends, but I'm like secretly knowing he's the one.
Women tend to know first, I think.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, okay. We had this is a Friday night date. Okay, Friday night. I had a Friday night late chemistry lab, and it went on even later. And he waited for me. We missed supper anywhere. It was that late. So we went back to my dorm room, and I had a few little things. Honestly, I had sardines and crackers. And I come to find out later that he hated sardines.
Okay.
So I pull those sardines and crackers, and he's just like, I know he was just like he was just kind of grimacing, but he didn't mind because his dad loved sardines. So he grew up knowing somebody who liked sardines. And so we just had the most wonderful conversation, and it was just, I don't know, it clicked. Something clicked that night.
So I guess I just have to ask this.
Over question. Sardines.
Sardine breath, did you kiss? I mean, because really? Okay.
Yeah, there's such thing as toothpaste. I mean, we were.
Okay.
Oh, fun. Well, it had to last if it was over sardines.
Yeah, that is true. That is so true. All right. So how long into the courtship was it before he proposed, or were you the one who proposed, or did you kind of mutually just agree?
Well, it was very interesting. Our last year, I think it was our last year in college. It was before Christmas. I know that because we were heading off to our prospective. He was from DC and I'm from Atlanta. So we were going back to our home places for Christmas. And he broke up with me. And I got furious. And I threw an umbrella at him. And then, yeah, he just totally, it floored me. How, I mean, I'm like, this is the stupidest decision you've ever made. How could you break up with me, kind of thing. And we went off and had Christmas with our families. And I was just devastated. So came back from that. He came to me and he said, it was the biggest mistake I ever made. And so I think what it was, it had gotten serious and he was scared.
Okay. And so at that point, then you all knew that.
So at that point, it was like, and then he basically was saying, I'm serious. You know, he sort of had gone through the thought process over Christmas and he came back and he was serious.
Okay.
And I had been serious for years.
Well, why? Right. Right. Women get serious first. That's the thing. We get serious first. Men take their times. But I do think that once men finally get serious, they become more deeply involved in the relationship. Not to say that women don't, but I think that they tend to, their heart really just does open. That's my.
Oh, he just absolutely, he decided that, you know, he realized that he was just sort of, he felt like it was going, he thought too fast. But then he proposed the spring that as soon as I graduated from college. He graduated early because he was so smart. He went through in fewer years. As soon as I graduated, he immediately proposed. But it was kind of a thing we both were expecting it to happen. So it's just like, well, when is he going to propose?
Right. That's the way I felt too. I mean, I like to hurry up now. I mean, I'm waiting. Okay, let's get this over with. Right?
And I think he was just sort of waiting for me to actually officially be graduated.
Okay, very good. And did you have a big wedding? Well, let me ask this question first. Did your parents like him?
They did. They really did. We have a sort of a semi joke though. He came down to meet my parents the very first time he came to meet, and we weren't engaged yet at that time. So I'm trying to figure out, I think as soon as I don't know, we came down to meet, and my dad was wanting to get, you know, things nice, and he wanted to have a fire in the fireplace and out there. So my dad was out chopping wood for this fire in the fireplace, and he had a heart attack. So Kent always goes, he's like, okay, yeah, they like me, but the very first time he saw me, he had a heart attack. So
wow. It's terrible. I know that would.
I know it's like right? You laugh because it's just here. But he was fine. He you know, we took him to the hospital and he was fine. He recovered. But no, they really have always liked Kent. Kent's pretty special.
Yes, he is. I've met him and I definitely know he is. Did you have a big wedding?
No, we didn't. We didn't. We did have a wedding in my home church in Atlanta. I wanted to have an outdoor wedding, but the minister who I'd known for years there said, I don't do outdoor weddings. So it was in the church. I only had one attendant, and my best friend from growing up, and he had his best friend at the time as an attendant, only one attendant. And it was pretty simple. I wore my mother's wedding dress. And then we had, you know, a light reception afterwards. So it just wasn't a big to do, but it was really fun and it was really nice.
Have you renewed your vows in 40 years?
You know, I no, we haven't, because I'm like, well, I don't know if we need to.
Okay.
I don't know that trend. I don't understand the trend of renewing your vows all the time. I'm like, well, we're pretty much steady on the first one, so.
So let me.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, you know, I had thought about it after 10 years. I thought about it, but I'm kind of like you. You know, it's there. I mean, I'm not. Maybe someone who's listening to this particular episode can, you know, share their thoughts on why they think renewing.
I would love someone to share their thoughts on it, because this is just my perception. My perception is, why do you need to renew them? I made a lifelong vow.
Top point. That's right.
But it may be a situation that's very meaningful. I mean, I know it's meaningful for the people who've done it, but we've just never had any feeling that we
Right. Well,
needed
and if
to.
you're headed, if you're, starting to head off in different directions, I'm not sure if renewing your vows is going to make it any better. I don't know, and I'm not sure, but that's just me.
I think this would be a perfect conversation with someone who has done that and why did they do it?
I'll find somebody, or somebody who's
Yeah.
watching this particular episode will write me and say, "Hey, I've done it. Let me tell you why it's necessary." So, okay. So let me ask you this, as we get ready to wrap up here. You've been married 40 years. I'm sure you've dealt with the good, the bad, the ugly, and the sweet and everything. What has made your marriage last as long as it has? Because I've seen you two together, and I know it's genuine. So it's not like, he's off in one corner and you're off in another. You two genuinely have chemistry even after 40 years. So what do you say to that? What's made it last and
Well,
feel
one
as
of the, I mean, I would say marry your best friend. I mean, he has been my best friend for all these years. And it's not been all light and roses and happy, happy, happy all the time. We have a disabled son, and the statistics of couples with a child with a disability, it's well, there's 20% more chance that they're going to break up because it can be very stressful at times. So we've had stresses, and of course we've gotten mad at each other, but we don't keep it. I mean, and even if we're getting mad at someone, it's like, I'm mad at you, but I still love you dearly.
right.
And when you come back down to it, he is just really my favorite person.
Oh,
He
that's
really is. He's my favorite human being, even if I fuss at him sometimes.
so. How do you deal with the challenges in your life? I mean, what advice do you give when you are facing, like a financial situation, or, you're not on the same page when it comes to some type of big decision, or, even with the care of children, because, not all husbands and wives have the same philosophy when it comes to raising kids, whether it's a boy or
And that's true. And I think we're kind of lucky in that I think we have a lot of the same values. And so when it comes push down to coming on a big decision and we talk about it, we talk it through, and we make decisions based on our values. And the fact that we aren't at polar, I mean, I know sometimes opposites really attract. So that can be, I know people who are married who are really married to their opposite almost. And that might be more challenging. My brother is a case of that. I mean, he's in a marriage that's, I think, 45 years, maybe 46 years, but they were polar opposites. And he said, well, it takes a lot of work.
yes, it does.
Whereas Ken and I think with our values being so similar, those decisions, we pretty much find ourselves on the same side of the decision.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Robin, for those that trip down memory lane, from the beginning, 40 years fast forward, and giving us your, tips and secrets to a happy life. And they what do they say? A happy wife makes a happy life. But
Well, I really think that don't expect that the romance, I mean, that initial romantic attraction, it ebbs and flows. So I think people give up when it's in the ebb, and it's going to flow again. But it's like it's this long, 40 years.
yeah.
Just I think sometimes people expect almost too much from a marriage, but I do believe in shared values and being friends.
Yeah, you did say that you were friends first, and I do think that that is a probably one of the absolute best ways to start, because you've already developed a bond with each other, and from there everything else should just be gravy. That's what I think too. So all right, very good. Well, listen, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule, I know, to talk with us about what it's like to live happily ever after. That's going to do it for this edition of the Boomer Beat with yours truly, Bev Mahone, and my very special guest today, Robin Thomas. Until next time, stay empowered along your journey. Take care, guys.
good news you can use for your life. If you wanna get the info that'll help you throughout your life, yeah.